All right, James and Emma, remember the rule. Don't go to any house that doesn't have a light on. And if anyone gives you trouble, you come straight back, okay?
You don't have to worry, Mom. We'll be fine.
I'm gonna get the most candy, just wait.
Take these for safety and remember to stick together.
We will.
The air crackled with Halloween excitement. The entire neighborhood seemed to be alive with the spirit of the season. Every house was adorned with spooky decorations, from eerie ghosts hanging from trees to skeletons peeking out from behind bushes. Jack-o'-lanterns grinned from every porch, their carved faces flickering with the light of candles inside. Each one seemed to have its own personality, some friendly and others downright sinister. Fake spider webs clung to bushes, glistening under the streetlights. They added an extra layer of creepiness to the scene, making it feel like the entire street was caught in a giant web.
Adjusting my witch's hat, I felt the plastic spider rings dig into my fingers. The excitement was almost too much to bear. I could hardly wait to start trick-or-treating and see what kind of candy I would get this year.
Come on, Slowpoke! I yelled, my voice muffled by the plastic pirate mask. The mask made it hard to see, but I didn't care. I was ready for adventure and candy.
I'm coming! I'm coming! I shouted back, my voice high-pitched with excitement. My heart was racing as I ran to catch up, the sound of my footsteps echoing in the night.
Emma couldn't wait to fill her bucket with candy. She'd been looking forward to this night for weeks, planning her costume and dreaming about the mountains of sweets she would collect. Chocolate bars, gummy worms, lollipops, the sweeter the loot, the better. Each piece of candy was a tiny treasure, and Emily was determined to gather as much as she could. Their mother trailed behind, laughing as they struggled to keep up with their sugar-crazed offspring. It was a night of pure joy and excitement, a time for families to come together and celebrate. It was a perfect Halloween night. The air was crisp and cool, a gentle breeze rustling the fallen leaves at their feet. The sound of laughter and the rustling of candy wrappers filled the air. The scent of pumpkin spice and wood smoke hung heavy in the air, adding to the festive atmosphere. It was a night that seemed almost magical, with every sense heightened by the sights, sounds and smells of Halloween. Little did they know, the night was about to take a sinister turn. As the children laughed and ran from house to house, a shadowy figure watched from the darkness, waiting for the perfect moment to strike.
Trick or treat! We chimed in unison, our voices echoing in the twilight. The air was filled with the scent of fallen leaves and the distant laughter of other children.
A friendly witch with a wart on her nose dropped a handful of candy into their buckets. Her cackle was playful and her eyes twinkled with the joy of the season. They moved from house to house, their buckets growing heavier with each stop. The thrill of the hunt for the best candy kept them going, even as their legs began to tire. James, hyped up on sugar and excitement, darted between the other trick-or-treaters, letting out excited shrieks with every piece of candy he received. His energy seemed boundless, a blur of motion in the dim light. Emma, though a little more composed, couldn't contain her glee either. Her eyes sparkled as she carefully selected her favorite treats from her growing collection.
Mom, look! I got a Snickers! I exclaimed, holding up the coveted chocolate bar. It was the prize of the night, the one candy everyone hoped to find in their stash.
That's great, honey, I replied, my eyes scanning the street. The night was alive with the spirit of Halloween, and I wanted to make sure we didn't miss a single house. Just try to save some for later, okay? I added, knowing full well that the candy would be gone by morning.
As they ventured further down the street, the houses grew larger, the lawns more manicured. The decorations became more elaborate, with glowing pumpkins and eerie sound effects. But there was an unspoken rule about this part of the neighborhood. A rule whispered among the kids at school. It was said that the candy here was the best, but only the bravest dared to venture this far. This was where the old, creepy houses stood. Their windows dark and their lawns overgrown, they seemed to watch the children with a silent, eerie presence. The thrill of fear mixed with the excitement of the night, making every step an adventure. The laughter and chatter of other trick-or-treaters began to fade. The streetlights seemed to dim, casting long, eerie shadows that danced menacingly on the sidewalk. A chill wind whistled through the trees, sending a shiver down Emma's spine.
James, maybe we should turn back, I murmured, my voice laced with apprehension.
Why? I asked, my eyes wide with innocent curiosity.
This part of the neighborhood? It's creepy, I whispered, my gaze fixed on a particularly ominous-looking house at the end of the street.
It stood alone, shrouded in darkness. The old Victorian mansion was a looming silhouette against the hellish twilight sky. Its paint was peeling, and the windows were dark, like empty eyes staring back at them.
Don't be scared, Emma, I said, puffing out my chest. I'll protect you from the ghosts. I brandished my plastic sword, a mischievous glint in my eye.
Emma hesitated, her heart pounding in her chest. But there was something about the house that drew her in, a strange mix of fear and curiosity, and she couldn't let her little brother think she was scared.
Fine, I said at last, but let's just go up to the porch. We don't have to go inside.
They crept toward the house, their footsteps echoing in the silence. The air grew heavy, thick with a strange, unsettling energy that sent goosebumps erupting over Emma's arms. As they approached the porch, the faintest of sounds reached their ears. A soft, mournful whisper like a sigh carried on the wind.
Did you hear that? It sounded like it came from inside the house.
Emma whispered, her hand instinctively reaching for James's. Her fingers were cold, trembling slightly as they intertwined with his. James nodded, his eyes wide with a mixture of fear and excitement. He could feel his heart pounding in his chest, each beat echoing in his ears. They slowly climbed the creaking steps of the porch, each step seeming to echo their impending doom. The wood groaned under their weight, adding to the eerie atmosphere. The front door stood slightly ajar, a sliver of darkness beckoning them from within. It was as if the house itself was alive, breathing in the night air. A faint light flickered in the depths of the house, casting dancing shadows that seemed to writhe and contort like living things. The shadows played tricks on their minds, making them see things that weren't there. A cold gust of wind slammed the door shut with a deafening boom. The sound reverberated through the night, sending chills down their spines. Emma and James jumped back, their hearts hammering against their ribs. The sudden noise had startled them, making them question their decision to come here. They exchanged a look, a mixture of fear and morbid curiosity in their eyes. Neither of them wanted to admit it, but they were both drawn to the mystery of the house.
Maybe we should go. This place gives me the creeps.
Emma whispered, her voice trembling. She could feel the weight of the darkness pressing in on them, making it hard to breathe. Before James could reply, the door creaked open again, as if inviting them inside. The sound was almost hypnotic, drawing them closer to the unknown. Hesitantly, Emma and James stepped across the threshold and into the house. The air inside was stale and cold, thick with the scent of dust and decay. Cobwebs hung from every corner, and the only light came from a flickering candle on a dusty table in the hallway.
Hello?
Emma called out, her voice echoing through the empty house. There was no reply, only the sound of their own breathing and the frantic thumping of their hearts. They ventured further into the house, their footsteps echoing on the wooden floor. Each room they passed seemed to grow darker and colder, the shadows growing longer and more menacing. Suddenly, the floorboards beneath their feet gave way with a deafening crack.
Ah! Stu! Ah!
Emma and James screamed as they plummeted into the darkness. They landed with a bone-jarring thud, the air knocked from their lungs.
James, are you okay?
Emma gasped for breath, her eyes struggling to adjust to the darkness. She could hear James whimpering beside her, his small body trembling.
Emma, I'm scared.
Help! Can anyone hear us?
But her cries were met with only silence, a chilling, deafening silence that amplified their fear tenfold. Emma and James huddled together in the darkness, their bodies trembling with fear, their breaths shallow and quick. The only sound was the frantic beating of their own hearts. Then they heard it, a noise that sent chills down their spines, a soft whisper close to their ears, almost too faint to catch.
Children,
Emma's blood ran cold, her heart pounding even harder. The whisper was low and raspy, like the rustle of dry leaves on a windy night. It seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once, filling the room with dread.
Who's there? Who the hell are you?
The whispering grew louder, swirling around them like a malevolent wind, relentless and chilling.
This is our house now.
Panic surged through Emma. She scrambled to her feet, pulling James up with her. They stumbled around in the darkness, their hands outstretched, searching for a way out. But there was no escape. They were trapped. The whispering voices grew louder, taunting them, their words laced with a chilling glee. Emma and James covered their ears, trying to block out the sound, but it was no use. The voices seemed to seep into their very bones.
Forever. You'll be with us forever.
Emma felt a cold hand close around her wrist. She screamed, a primal scream born of pure terror. She thrashed and kicked, trying to break free, but the grip only tightened. James chases after her in the darkness, and that was the last of him. The next morning, the house stood silent and empty, just as it had for years. The front door swung open in the breeze, creaking ominously on its hinges. There was no sign of Emma and James. Only the faintest of whispers carried on the wind seemed to linger in the air. The house remained abandoned, shunned by the locals. Stories and creepy pastors circulated of strange noises and flickering lights seen within its walls. It became a local legend, a haunted house that served as a chilling reminder of the two children who had vanished within its depths. Some say that on Halloween night, if you listen closely, you can still hear the faint cries of the children trapped forever within the house on Haunted Hill.
We want to go home.